Hello, my name is Shelley DeVries, and I am presenting my LIB330 mythology project on the vultures of India. Vultures are scavenger birds which feed on the carcasses of large animals, thus playing an important role in the cleaning of the environment. This is a small story of how the diminishing vulture population in India is affecting beliefs and faiths and legends of local people, and possibly more importantly, what is happening to the environment with the loss of these important animals. Two unique stories to tell you involving the vultures of India. One legend involves the feeding of two sacred vultures every day by the priests at the temple called Vedagirshwarar. The second involves the tradition at the Towers of Silence, where Parsis, a small but ancient religious group that does not believe in cremation or burial, lay out their dead for the vultures to consume in a ritual known as sky burial. A small town in southern India, Thirukkazhkundram, has been known for centuries among the Hindu pilgrims for a large temple called Vedagirshwarar, situated in a mountaintop in the town. This temple is popularly known as Kazhugu Koil, the Eagle Temple. The whole town is even popularly named Kakshi Tirtham, meaning bird's holy place. Interestingly, all these names are given after not a special bird species, but only after a pair of birds. It is not known the exact timeline, but there is a century-long tradition in the Vedagirshwarar temple to feed a pair of eagle-like birds every day. Exactly at noon, the birds would fly down from the sky to partake in a prasadam of wheat, rice, ghee, and sugar from the temple's priest. The pair of birds have been fed for many generations of priests, counting years to many centuries. According to the legend, the two birds fly every day from Varanasi on the Ganges in northern India to the temple, flying about 2,000 miles, arriving at noon. They have lunch, and then they fly to the southernmost point of India, Ramaswaram. Then they fly north up the coast to Chidambaram, go to sleep, and in the morning they fly north to Varanasi for a bath in the Ganges, and then off back to Thirukkazhkundram again. They are not considered as normal birds, but as mythical 8 sages, or asthasvasas. In Indian mythology, asthasvasas were guard to the 8 points of the compass, but they did penance on which Hindu Lord Shiva was angry, and he cursed them to turn into vultures. When they asked for forgiveness, Lord Shiva directed them to the temple of Vedagirshwarar, where they would be fed and worshipped. They remained there in the temple. In the last 3 yugams epoch, 3 pairs died, leaving the last couple surviving in this epoch. Legend also says that the birds will not come if there are sinners in the crowd which assembles at the temple. Until 1998, the mystical bird pair appeared every day at noon in Thirukkazhkundram, but one day they stopped coming and they simply vanished. For the local people, it is a bad omen and attributed to the presence of sinners among the onlookers. For a decade now, no mythical birds have visited the temple, but the ritual is still practiced by the temple priest in the hope that eventually they will turn up one day. As the tradition continued for centuries, many generations of vultures must have been involved in the affair, passing on the tradition, perhaps from mother to son or husband to wife. Zoologists define this culture as an imitation of patterns of behaviors of one animal by another. Viewed from this perspective, the vultures of Thirukkazhkundram certainly qualified as rather unusual animals of high culture. Sky burials are performed in keeping with Parsi tradition. The Parsis cannot cremate, bury, or submerge their dead in water because a corpse is considered impure, and the Zoroastrianism religion does not permit defiling the elements with a body. The Parsis practice sky burials, wherein the bodies of the dead are placed on platforms atop the Towers of Silence, where vultures, kites, and crows dispose of them in no time, leaving only dry bones. One day, when the community went to place another one of their dead, to their horror, they found the previous corpse in a decomposed state. The community and the city of Mumbai noticed the first signs of disappearing vultures. We now have a suspicion that there is a problem. As the vulture population began to noticeably recede and as more and more deceased vultures were being discovered, officials finally took some action. The first recordings of decline in the vulture population occurred in the mid-1980s, with a 97% decline over a 12-year period in India, with similar losses being recorded in neighboring countries. In the year 2000, the World Conservation Union named 3 vulture species as critically endangered, the highest category of endangerment. Even though the Indian population wanted to blame the technologically advanced Americans for the problem, it was finally an American who isolated the cause of this great loss. In 2003, a microbiologist at Washington State University, working in collaboration with the US-based Peregrini Fund named Lindsay Oakes, discovered that the 3 species of gyps vultures were dying from ingesting livestock carcasses treated with diclofenac. Diclofenac is a mild painkiller similar to aspirin or ibuprofen that farmers would give to their animals to reduce the pain from cracked hooves and swollen udders. When the vultures would feed on the dead animals treated with diclofenac, they would develop visceral gout, untreatable kidney failure that causes a crystallized gloom across their internal organs. Death occurs within weeks. Vultures have a vital role to play in the environment. They are the hardiest of all creations and have been called nature's own disposal squads. Carcasses are a vulture's typical diet, and the vulture's scavenging habits are an important link in checking and containing the spread of infectious diseases among animals and human beings. Whenever there are occurrences of cattle epidemics during natural calamities like floods and droughts, vultures cleanse the earth of putrid carcasses and prevent deadly germs from spreading. Botulinum toxin, the toxin that causes botulism, an acute gastrointestinal and nervous disorder due to consumption of poisonous and rotten food, does not affect vultures, and they can eat rotten flesh containing anthrax and cholera bacteria. Dr. Salim Ali, in his book Indian Birds, described vultures as God's own incinerators, which cannot be replaced by even the most sophisticated ones which humans may invent. A flock of vultures has the ability to dispose of an ox in just 30 minutes. With the rapid decline in the vulture population, we are losing a critical link in the food chain. There are many more consequences for our environment with the lack of vultures in the world. The disappearing of ecologically important vultures is a matter of concern. In places where vultures were in abundance, populations of feral dogs have increased. The increase in the number of dogs has been proportional to the decline in the number of vultures. With this increase in the number of dogs, the incidence of rabies-related deaths has also increased. According to government sources, a major shift in transfer of corpse pathogens from vultures to feral dogs and rats can lead to a disease pandemic causing millions of deaths in a developing country like India. The digestive systems of vultures also had the capability to destroy many species of pathogens, causing deadly diseases in human beings. The escalating evidence of the leopard assaults in the village of India is also due to the decline in the vulture population. In fact, the multiplication of feral dogs has caused a multiplication of leopards feeding on those dogs. The leopards invade the human settlement areas to prey on the dogs, and this often results in attacks on human children. The Parsi community in India is most affected from the declining population of vultures, as they are responsible for the disposal of their dead bodies. Parsis consider earth, water, fire, and land as sacred elements. Therefore, none of these are used for the cremation purposes. Since the vulture populations have declined to serious extent, Parsis are now compelled to give up this traditional practice by evolving some alternatives. I end my presentation with a quote by Dr. Jonathan Salmon. The cultural impacts of this sudden change on a central right of one's faith are hard to overstate.